Good afternoon, friends. The topic for today's discussion is print post-COVID opportunities and challenges. Now, initially when I was invited for this talk, I thought it was going to be a sort of a panel discussion where 3 or 4 panelists would be sitting together. And in a panel discussion, normally one doesn't need to prepare so much. So I thought, just like my engineering days, I would sit one night before the discussion and plan it out. But last week when I was going through the brief, I realized I have to be on stage for 40 minutes and give a monologue. I mean, in my life, I have not spoken for 40 minutes at a stretch. Forget about speaking in front of 200, 300 people. So, Anupji, if I start shivering or if I pass out, please take care of me and don't be scared. Now, speaking after my print gurus, Narendra sir and Selva sir, it's obviously an honor. But then it's also a nightmare because they've taken the discussion to a completely different level. I mean, it's impossible for a young guy like me to even think in those lines. So let's start with my topic. Let's start with the session. Selva sir has given a beautiful talk and the importance of systems for us to growth. And this is basically an introduction, sort of an introduction for my talk, because I'm only going to talk about how systems has helped us in scaling and in achieving what we did in last few years. So the last 3 years, we've had major transformations in CDC and also for myself. Let's start with the results. What we achieved in these last 3 years. We've increased our profits by 50 to 100% year on year, every year for last 3 years. This does not mean that there was a dip in our profits during the COVID year. We also managed to increase our profits by 50% during that year. And we've been doing it for last 2-3 years since 2018-19. My life has completely changed. I mean, I used to be the guy who would go to the factory every day and I would sit there in the office waiting for somebody to come to me with their problems. Okay, that's not me. We don't have fights in our factory, sorry. That's more about it. So we have some member coming to me with their problems and like we wear our Superman suits and try to give solutions to them. And most of the times our solutions do work. After that, we go back home feeling very tired and we tell our family, we had so many problems that we had to face. Somehow I was there to save the day and we provided some amazing solutions and the problems went away. And we feel so proud of it. I mean, we all love doing this. Even when we are on a holiday, that's not me but similar to me, on a holiday sitting by the pool, drinking a cup of coffee or juice, the same thing repeats. We get a phone call from our office and again you're trying to solve the problems. The big transformation that has happened is since October, that's around 150 days, I have visited my factory not more than 7 to 10 times. And there has been a stretch of even 30 to 35 days where I didn't visit my factory. But what happened without me being present at the factory? Our on-time delivery, week on week, is anywhere between 85 to 95%. Our wastages, including internal rejections, is somewhere between 2 to 3%. Our print runs are somewhere between 3 to 5,000, with average is around 4,500. So with that, 2 to 3% is quite decent, I believe. We've received the Print Week India Awards in the education category. That's something to be super, super proud of. By the way, in my absence, we did not add any senior management in operations. It's the same team who's working and delivering these results. So the next 30 minutes, I would like to talk about how we achieved all of these results. And most of us in this room would be able to do it if we really wanted to. Right after lockdown, the entire world went gaga over digital transformations. They said the world is going to change post-COVID. We have to adapt to new digital technologies without which we will not exist. Even the printing industry caught on to this fever. And the three big buzzwords that used to come during those days were ERP, automations, Industry 4.0. I have nothing against these technologies. I firmly believe that we do need these technologies, but I also have a concern that if we just buy and implement these technologies, I don't think our problems will vanish. So let's start with picking up each of these technologies. Let's start with ERP. Now, a primary goal of operations is to ensure when we receive an order from the customer, the material flows smoothly till it gets dispatched. But unfortunately, when we go to many of the print factories, including mine a few years back, the factory would be full of work in progress materials lying to be processed by different resources. I mean, they would spend more time in the waiting period rather than being processed upon. Now, in this traffic jam, what would happen is the supervisors would constantly change the priorities in their respective workstations and change the schedule, reschedule, and it will be complete chaos. ERP was supposed to find a solution for this, but I don't think ERP has a direct answer on this problem. The plants are fully flooded with work in progress. Whether it's SAP, Microsoft, or anything at all, they have absolutely no clue. What they are currently doing is digitizing the paper formats that we used to follow, like job registers, production registers. We can probably even do the same in Excel. So ERP more or less behaves like Excel on steroids, that's what I feel, unless we try to exploit it better. Another example, when the customer calls that they have this big order in hand, can you deliver it? Or rather, they say, can you deliver it in 3 days? Can your ERP instantly tell you whether you can do it or not? And if you are able to commit to that job, what other jobs will miss their deadlines? And can you afford to miss those deadlines? I don't think so. But many printers are used to these kind of queries that the customer gets. We somehow have formed a system to deliver the right answer. But if you ask us, it's not because of the ERP. Of course, we are using ERP as the back end, but then it's not just implementation of ERP that can give us these results. The second point is automation. So they'll have many manufacturers who come to us and they say, you buy this really automated machine, they have these robotic arms, you'll be able to save 10-15 minutes in the make-ready time, your productivity would increase by 10 to 15%. Now, we've already seen the factory floor, which sort of looks like this. It has a lot of work in progress everywhere. In this scenario, how can those 10 to 15 minutes of saving really help us? I mean, I believe it's only going to add more to the mess that we are already in, because we'll try to run those machines even more optimally, creating a bigger mess. They also say that we will reduce our costs, we'll save more money, we'll make more profit. But then, at one point of time, we have all invested in newer technology. Have we ever fired our existing people? No. But we always had to hire a new team who are more experienced, who are more expensive. So that doesn't really save costs in the longer run. You're just adding more costs to it. The third point is, Industry 4.0. So in 2016 Drupa, there are a lot of manufacturers who were selling the concepts of Industry 4.0. I'm sure the next Drupa will be full of Industry 4.0. Now, I repeat, I have nothing against these technologies, but we really have to understand our real pain areas before we start adopting to them blindly. Industry 4.0, what does it do? We talk about IoT. They are putting sensors in our machines which can detect vibrations, temperatures, and all of this data is sent to their central system where they can analyze this data and predict which part is going to fail and when. Now, in a medium and small scale industry, in a printing firm, we are always bogged down with our breakdown maintenance. Our maintenance team is not able to carry out preventive maintenance on time most of the time. In that scenario where preventive maintenance is sort of a dream for some of us, how can predictive maintenance really help? Cloud computing was another very hot topic. Many ERP sellers would say, cloud computing is the next thing. You take cloud computing, your problems will be solved. We've seen these ERP who are sitting, who are there physically in our offices, they don't do what they're supposed to do. How on earth will they perform if we just put them on the clouds? I mean, it's just going to be the same thing. So with this scenario, let us talk about how we approached some of these problems and tried to mitigate them. So before I start what we did, I would like to first thank my parents, wife and children for supporting me and CDC through this transformative journey. I would like to also thank the CDC team who took these change as a challenge and put it forth and have been really successful. And finally, I have to thank my guru, Goldratt. None of what I said earlier and none of what I'm going to say in now has anything to do with me. It's all direct implementation or direct ideas from Goldratt, who's a super famous author and a management guru when it comes to operations and sales and anything at all. I mean, there cannot be a bigger fan of him more than me. I know Narendra sir is also a big fan of Goldratt. So whatever I'm going to talk about is direct implementation of his theory of constraints and how we try to implement that in our system. So the first and foremost thing that we did was made sure printing is the bottleneck in the factory. What that essentially means, printing is my slowest process, which means every other process before or after printing is actually faster. That results in whatever gets printed immediately gets converted into its final product. It doesn't have to wait. A lot of manufacturers also talk about line balancing, but like Goldratt says, line balancing is a myth. All the processes before and after your bottleneck should be faster, and they should not try to balance each other, because you will never achieve that. So at times, our folder gluers, our binderies, our punching machines stay idle. For some management people, they would feel, why are these people staying idle? Why is this machine idle? Either we've bought extra resources or we are spending too much money on people. They try to fire the people. But it gives me satisfaction because I know my system works. My printing is the slowest process, whereas the rest of them are performing super fast. With this pillar of truth, we've designed our entire business process. And any business, including printing, is just a collection of processes. It's just a collection of process. And there are 5 simple steps in creating any process. We can call it a process, we can call it a system. There are just 5 simple steps which we need to follow in order to create a good process. First one is creating the process. We are all experts in creating the world's best process. Let's, for example, take a purchase process. We get an order from the customer, we check its bill of materials, we then send it to the store who checks what materials are in stock, what material needs to be ordered. Whatever material needs to be ordered, they create an indent for it. Then the purchase guy will speak to different vendors, and depending on the quotations and delivery schedule, they will generate the PO. We will have to follow up a couple of times to ensure the materials is received on time. Once the material is received, we do a quality check, we create a GRN, and finally we upload the invoice in our accounting software and pay the supplier. So that's a simple process, purchase process, which every organization is using. They would be having one step here or there little changed, but that's more or less a simple purchase process. And that's a beautiful process. We all are experts in creating such beautiful process. The next step is alignment, where we align the people on what is your responsibility, what is the purpose of this process, how are these processes to be executed. And we are also experts in that. We call everybody in the room, we tell them this is how it's supposed to work, and we hope that they perform accordingly. We roll out, which means we says from tomorrow this is how the purchase system should work. And so the top 3 steps, create, align and roll out, is something we are all experts in. The last 2, measure and accountability, is what most people miss out. And this is where we fail many times. What do we mean by measure? We've created a process. We've assigned some tasks to different doers. But are they doing it on time or not? We have no idea. Are they doing it as per our requirements? We have no idea. Even they have no idea. At times when atom bomb blasts, we call the person and start blasting. Why have you not done it the way we've suggested? And it really is not a sustainable method. So we need to measure how this process is being carried out, whether the people involved are doing it on time or not, whether they have been doing it as effectively they should or not. And the last is accountability. The person should be aware of how his performance is so that he can self-improve and be better. So, like I said, we are all experts in creating perfect process. But when some of us fail, we blame the failure on people, on government, on competition, on clients. Whereas I feel our success truly lies and depends on these 5 steps. We call it karma. Now, some of the processes that we've developed, some of the systems at Selva, like Selva sir would say that we've developed, are order processing, new product development, pre-press, production system, customer portal, exception handling. We are going to go one by one into each of the process and how it's being executed in our company so that I am more or less relieved of doing these tasks. So, order processing. The sales executive, when it receives the order, he hands it over to a CRM team. Earlier what used to happen, it was on the sales executive's KRA to ensure even the delivery is done on time. So what would happen? They would receive the order, they would start following up with the purchase team, with the pre-press, with the production, with the delivery. They'll be involved in operations in a big way, and so they will not be able to focus on future sales. If they have 2 options to do, either follow up on the existing job or speak to a new customer for a new job, they would always prefer following up on the existing job. What that resulted is the sales team were not able to perform as per its expectations. They were spending more time in doing follow-ups in the internal factory rather than actually speaking with customers, negotiating with them and closing the deal. So that was the first step that we did. The sales executive hands over the job and they get cut off from the system. They don't have to do anything with that job. Now the CRM team, after receiving it, commits a delivery schedule to the customer and they commit it within 24 to 48 hours. How they get to this date, I'm going to talk to you a little later, but that's what the CRM team does. Immediately after receiving the order, within 24 to 48 hours, they commit a delivery schedule to the customer. What Amazon does instantly, we take 24 to 48 hours. I hope we'll be able to reduce it, make it much faster soon. The other thing that they do, if there's any delay in our delivery schedule, that gets communicated to the customer right when we know that there is going to be a delay. And there's also a system who tells the CRM team that there could be a delay in this job. It comes directly from the system and they can communicate the same to the customer right when they know it and not when the delay has already occurred. We also intimate the customers that the material is ready and they're going to deliver it the next day. Basically, the entire concept is coming from how Amazon works. We get an email or SMS from Amazon that the material is ready and to be dispatched. This is a similar thing that we do. And all of these communications go directly from the system through WhatsApp and email. There is no somebody physically sending these communication. It is going directly from the system itself. So one of the major things that we wanted to talk about is how does the CRM team know when we'll be able to deliver. So he sits with the production executive. the production planner who is aware of the loads on the different printing machine, they can easily decide when this job is going to get printed. And since printing is the bottleneck, we know once printed, it's going to get delivered fast. We can add up all the times that is required by the further post-printing steps to the printing time, add a little bit of buffer to it, and commit a delivery schedule. We also have a good measurement of how accurately we are able to deliver, but we'll come to that. But we right from the planning stage, right from day one, we are able to decide when is the expected delivery schedule, and it gets communicated to the customer right away. So we created a beautiful process that we will commit to the customer within 24 hours. It's a good marketing thing, but do we really do it, and how well we do it? This is the measurement of how my CRM team is performing. It says, so there are measurements for 2 weeks. First is from 6th February to 12th February. It says that we received 45 jobs, the CRM person, out of which he responded 43. So it's 4% of jobs he couldn't communicate the delivery schedule to, and all of them were done on time. The following week, from 13th to 19th, there were 36 jobs that the CRM was handling, and he communicated the delivery schedule to all of them, and all of them on time. This kind of measurement and accountability ensures the system works without our presence, without our follow-up, without even me being present there. And we can be very confident that the messages are going as we had initially determined. The next process that I'm going to talk is new product development. Now, generally in a packaging plant, new product development is the most painful area both for the customer and for the packaging printer, because they prefer executing jobs that they've already developed, because that's going to give them money immediately. New product development is not. So there's always a lack in priority on how fast we do the new product development. For that, we have a separate executive, a separate team for new product development, and any request for new product is given very systematically to him on a Google form. Based on the nature of new product development, like whether it's a PDF approval, whether it's a development of a blank mock-up, or it's a machine proof, a turnaround time is predefined, and it is the NPD executive's KRA to ensure that the new product development is completed within that turnaround time. Again, so these are the 2 screenshots that I have collected. The one on the top, it shows the list of new product development that the person has. So as soon as he goes to the office in the morning, he logs on to his dashboard, and a list like this comes. He doesn't have to bother about what's the priority. He just has to follow the order. And every job has a estimated turnaround time, which is on the last column. This is when it was supposed to get over. Finally, there is also a measurement. Monojit is a person who's in charge of new product development. During the week 6th February to 12th, he had 47 requests, out of which 39 was done, and only 30% could have been done on time. So we see there is around 20 to 25% we are failing to deliver on time, but we know quantitatively how my new product development team is working. And using these methods, we have developed around 2,800 new SKUs in the last 3 years, which is sort of quite a good achievement. The next step is pre-press. Now, this is the brain of entire printing operations. All the specifications, all the details are mentioned in pre-press. Anything that goes wrong in pre-press, it cannot be corrected in further steps. So it is of utmost importance that pre-press is error-free. Being the brain, it sort of acts like a mind or a heart, because everybody is pushing in the pre-press department. The sales team used to come and shout at the pre-press team that they've submitted the job 3 days back, why has it not been released for printing yet? And because of all these distractions, they would lose focus, and if they lose focus, there will be errors. And so we had a lot of errors in our pre-press team. We tried to change that around. We developed a small token-based system, just like in the passport office. Any new pre-press activity is submitted via token, and we have 8 to 9 people in our pre-press team. They all act based on their tokens and when the job comes to their dashboard. So this is sort of an image. So any pre-press guy logs into his system, he opens his dashboard, he starts his day, a new token number is generated, and his task is to ensure he works on this particular token number. Once the token is completed, he clicks on stop. Once his job is over, a new token is generated and he starts working on that. This generation of tokens also takes care of the priority that we have, that has an inbuilt feature in it. And this ensures there is no kitch-pitch, no chick-chick, no job is missed, and we follow the pre-press sequentially and ensure the plates reach on time. We also have a small image on the right. Not sure how visible it is. It's not visible much to me here. There is one column which says time to start, and there are 4 or 5 items which has highlighted. It tells me that these are the jobs which has taken more time to start. It has been in waiting for a longer period of time than my benchmark decided. Also, the column next to it is process time. This shows some of the jobs which has taken more time for my pre-press team to execute. So with these kind of data in hand, it's very easy to make sure that the people are accountable, and since they also know what they are being measured upon and how they are performing, they are bound to self-improve, they are bound to get more motivated. There's no politics, there's nothing else involved in that. Now, the production system. This is the most important and the most crucial system for any manufacturing company. This is what determines whether we are delivering things on time or not, how well our production system is working. Since we have developed the first constraint, which means the printing has to be the bottleneck, and everything else is faster than printing, it makes our life so much easier. The underlying principle is whatever gets printed first will get processed first. So the supervisors in different departments, they don't have to reshuffle based on the phone calls that they get. They just have to follow the priority of the printing sequence. This is an image of the print schedule that has come out from my ERP system. This shows the second last column. It shows what is the target end time, what is the tentative end time, when is this job going to get over. Along with it, in the last column, it shows if the printing gets over on this particular date and time, when is the job expected to be completed, to be ready for delivery. And this data is being compared with the delivery date, which is fourth column from the left. And if we know that a job, if planned on this particular date, is going to miss its delivery schedule, it gets immediately highlighted. So every day in the morning, the print planner has a complete idea of which jobs can miss its delivery schedule because it's been planned late, either for raw material shortage or for load or whatever reason. But he has a complete idea of what jobs can miss its delivery deadline. Now, the image on the top, this is my most favorite piece of report, and this report tells me everything about my factory. This is a complete bird's eye view. These are the list of jobs that have already been printed or on the flow. This tells me which steps are pending for which job, and under each process, which are the jobs pending. Again, against each job, against each process of each job, there is also a deadline specified, and the ones in red are mentioning that these are the particular deadlines that have missed. So we don't have to follow up on everything. We don't have to, it makes the life of a person who's following up so much easier. They just have to highlight the red parts and make sure they try to expedite it, or whatever reason for which they have missed their target deadline, that gets corrected at the earliest, and we try to finish the job on time. It gives me the complete bird's eye view of what is their lying work in progress, why are they lying, at what stages they are lying, if there's any new bottleneck that is coming up in our system. With this, the last column, which is finally our foremost important column, is the measurement on how well we are able to deliver the jobs. We had communicated a delivery schedule within 24 to 48 hours. Have we been able to meet those delivery schedules? So again, these are for the 2 weeks. It shows approximately minus 15% or around 20% of the jobs we've not been able to deliver on time. But there are 80-85% jobs which are being delivered. All of these happens without my intervention. All of these happens completely directly from the system. And everybody in the factory is aware of what is going on. This ensures my production system works on autopilot without me or any senior production team, production plant head being involved in it. Now, during lockdown, even I got COVID. I was quarantined for 4-5 days. I had always had a dream that I create a customer portal where the customers can log in, like they are tracking their couriers. They can log in and see their job status, their order history, and all the information that they ever wanted to need. And this is one portal that I created during just 2-3 days of being quarantined in the room. This is what it looks like. The image on the left is the list of their historical jobs, and the image on the right, it shows what the printing date, when the printing was done, when the punching was done, and all the data that a customer would ever want to know is all there in front of him in his phone or in his laptop. They really don't ever have to call us up and find out what is the status of my job. ETA, it shows the tentative delivery schedule that the job will get delivered. So there's actually no reason for the customer to call us up, because on hand they have more information than my production team, than the CRM team, or even the sales team. Unfortunately, they're not using it so much yet, but I'm sure if we start pushing them towards it, they'll start using this customer portal to the more fullest. Now, the last part, which is actually the most critical part, which has ensured my freedom, my peace, is the exception handling. Now, earlier, our production heads, they were always busy receiving phone calls from the customer, from the sales team, that when is their job going to get printed, when is their job going to get fabricated, this is the delivery schedule that needs to be done. Now, all of that has been taken over by the system, by the production planner sitting at the city office. He is not responsible for ensuring delivery on time. He is only responsible for handling issues that have come out, the exceptions that has come out. He is only responsible for the red blocks that we saw. And since he is free from all the chick pitch pitch, he is able to handle these issues far more better. He is more technically equipped than me when it comes to printing, and therefore he is able to handle those issues far better than what I would, and only very few issues which he is unable to handle gets escalated to me. So I am sort of free from the production completely, and this is what exception handling has done with us. And we have a more strategic discussion with him on, depending on the load, where we should employ more people or which machine to buy to ensure the bottlenecks are not created and printing remains the main bottleneck. How we improve the flow further. That's the discussion that we have with the production head, and not why was this job not delivered on time, what have you done, please follow up. These are not the discussions that happen anymore with him. Now, since the entire platform is built upon the most important step, which is printing as the bottleneck, it is very, very, very critical that my printing systems perform to the maximum. An hour lost on the printing system does not mean it's only 1 hour of the printing system that we've lost. It's 1 hour of entire factory's productivity that has gone down. And therefore, it's very, 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 very important that not a single minute goes wasted. And we have an average output on CD102, that's a packaging plant, packaging printing machine. We do around 28 lakh sheets with an average run length of 5 to 6,000, which I feel is decently okay. My target was to push it to 35 lakh sheets, but November, December, January was very poor month for packaging, and there were not enough jobs for me to pressure them to get to this target. But again, 28 lakh sheets a month is also a decent work that they're doing. Average output of our 4-color machines, which does publishing work, is around 45 lakh impressions, and with an average run length of 8,000. This is probably one of the highest in our country, as what the manufacturers say. I have no idea of what other presses do, but as claimed by the manufacturers, 45 lakh impressions in a month on a machine is probably one of the best that one can do. And we are achieving it. But how do we measure it? How do we make sure we are on target is more important. I mean, achieving it once or achieving it twice by putting a lot of pressure or putting a hammer on the head is not going to work. It's not going to make it scalable. The manufacturers have come up with the concept of OEE, and they've given a very fancy name, OEE. We have a very similar method, but a Desi method, which takes into account the run length, the number of special colors, the number of changes, blanket changes, or the ink unit changes. Based on that, on a daily basis, we compute what has been the productivity of a particular operator during that shift. And this is one of those images. So 3 of our printing machines have been highlighted here. On the last row of each of the machine is the productivity figure. The ones in white says they have performed well. Ones in green, they have performed beyond the expectation. The yellow, it says it's not satisfactory but still doable. Ones in black, red, says that day the productivity was really bad. With this, and this data comes to me daily, and with this data I am able to understand how well that productivity was on that day. And with all the other data we know, once we have printed it, it will definitely get finished and it will definitely get sold and we'll definitely make money out of it. So this is my version of OEE, what the manufacturers try to sell, and it's available on a daily basis to me on my smartphone through WhatsApp, and I'm aware of whatever is happening in my factory on a daily basis. With the above systems in place, like Silvasa said, you should have systems. Without systems, it's impossible to exploit the opportunities that are there around us. With these systems in place, the entire globe becomes our playground. We are not bogged down by the minor details. Our vision sort of broadens. We can finally think like what startups do. Manufacturing is least of their concerns. Sales, marketing, strategy is what they focus on. Having a good grasp over a process of creating new processes and ensuring they run smoothly without our daily intervention, we can easily adapt new processes, create new processes as desired by the new geography or even any new product segment. Because you know how to get work done, you know how to build processes. So whatever geography you get to, you'll get new challenges, you build new processes around it, and you'll be able to conquer it. But that's when, because you have the foundation of system building built in your company. This has given us the flexibility and agility that is required in today's ever-changing world. So when I joined in 2011, we were primarily only doing high-quality commercial printing. That's all the work that we used to do. In 2012-13, we started a book printing plant, and soon we became one of the most preferred book printer for our region. In 2016, one of our clients, who used to contribute to 40% of our profit margins, vanished. He got bought by some other publisher, and the printing job was gone from our factory. So we converted this loss into one of our biggest opportunities. We explored different markets. We started looking at Africa, which gave us a lot of success. In 2019, we explored newer market. We didn't want to limit ourselves to Africa. We explored markets like US, Europe, South America. We are now exporting to 38 countries now across 5 continents. And this is a result of our constant innovation, appetite, and our constant process-driven systems. In 2020, we started the packaging plant, and which is doing phenomenally well right now. We are printing 29 lakh sheets a month on month.
Oh, wow. 28 lakh sheets.
So, like Selva sir also commented in his presentation during the summary, I also firmly believe that machines and software can be purchased by anyone. It's not the new age technology that is going to differentiate between any two entities. We have this debate constantly, KBA, Heidelberg, European, Japanese. It's not one decision or decision like this that is going to, be a super success factor for you or a super failure factor for you. These are far less significant compared to how well your business processes are and how streamlined and how smooth they run. Today is the age of disruptions. How fast one can pivot and realign the business models and processes to the current requirement is what's going to set the printing company apart. And that is exactly what we demonstrated in this last few years. There are also so many discussions happening not only our industry, but many other industries, that the margins are going down, the competition is far too many, and at times they behave like mad people. The market is significantly going down. If we leave apart the biggies, the top players in whatever industry they are in, we look at only the small and medium scale companies, our market share in the country would probably be less than 1%. And if we have to take a global approach, global look, we don't even know how many zeros we have to add between the decimal and 1. I mean, there is a huge wide world left for us to conquer if we are ready to do it, if we have the ability to do it. So we don't have to be bogged down by these industry factors, which are 100% relevant to the big players because they've already reached a good area. But for small and medium scale enterprises like ourselves, we just have to work on our processes, our factory, our performance to take it forward, rather than hope that the external environment changes and then we adapt to it. The last thing that we want to point out is we have to work on our business like an entrepreneur and not in the business like an employee. It's only then we'll be able to see a broader perspective and make these necessary changes and take our business forward. Again, repeat, we have to work on the business and not in the business. When it comes to profitability, I don't have comparison with other industries, but I can only speak about printing business and my factory. We are quite profitable, whether it's commercial, book printing, or even packaging. I mean, we are super happy with the profitability that we enjoy, and I have no complaints about that. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you so much.